Oh, hello. So, Timia here, Muse Medicina, coming at you with anything I really feel like because the internet, you know, that's pretty cool. I received a question from a human being, more like a how do I deal with this thing? It was a woman, and the woman uh, is in a relationship with a porn addicted man. I've received questions or presences about the pain caused by this or being, and I have also been before in a relationship with a porn addicted man. I have a lot to say about this. Basically, the way the woman was like, she was like, I shouldn't feel this way. I feel bad. I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like good enough. It makes me depressed, etc. The sentiment of like kind of being victimized and taking fault, that there's something wrong with us as women when our men like porn. And I shouldn't feel this way. I should get over it. So there's a lot of things. Honestly, the first thing I thought of is, and this kind of might sound brutal, but it's like, what do you keep doing that keeps drawing you to these men who are addicted to porn? What pattern exists in you that reifies this behavior in yourself to feel like you're not enough, and then you end up getting in a relationship with somebody who also reinforces that belief system. So basically, there's a lot about how we are healing our own stuff. And what it really comes down to is the imposed belief systems of the cis, hetero, white supremacist patriarchy. I will unfold that. I do birth work, and I am a huge proponent and advocate and emissary and guardian of indigenous birth practices. And this is because in my personal belief system, and I call myself a conspiracy factualist, this shit ain't theoretical, okay? When the witch hunts happened in old Europe, they first colonized themselves, and they did this by burning the medicine women. They also killed all the cats, and because they were, cats keep pests away. Then the rats took over, and they were in these cities. If you watch Game of Thrones, you can see they're literally throwing their refuse, their caca and pee from their like homes into the street, and there's filth everywhere. Bubonic plague. So that's just an aside from my training and understanding of epidemiology. That's a different story. Colonization happened when we killed the women, okay, and we killed the medicine women, the sorceresses. There has been those same people who ran away from Europe came over and started the white male land owning culture of supremacy here on Turtle Island in this land. So what has come of that are all of the offshoots of it, including porn culture. I don't know if many of you can connect the dots, but basically, according to Chinese medicine, when a woman is young and menstruating, there is this movement of qi, of receiving qi, going downward into the essence, and we bleed or we get inseminated and we make babies. So our vital essence, our life source essence, is used to create children. When we go through menopause and we become Crohn's, the life force essence no longer leaks out of us downward into the ground, into the earth, into that cycle if we're free bleeders or whatever, or there's ceremonies involved in that. What then happens is the gathering chi, all of the way that you eat and you breathe and you connect, is then able to come into you and move up and connect to your spirit and your shen and your openness, so that you can receive great messages from the divine. So old women are powerful as fuck because of this. And they have, and when I say they, the ominous they, I mean the magicians. It is not an accident that we are in the imaginations right now of white men, of old white landowning men, of rich white men. Not to be racist about it, but that just is. Like, there's no being politically correct about shit that shit just is. Yeah, there's oil money all around the world and stuff like that, but in this continent, after Manifest Destiny, after conquest and colonization, that happened a few hundred years ago on Turtle Island in the Americas, we are in the imagination of white men. The Illuminati is real, and they are creating our consciousness. And this is not woo-woo stuff. What do you watch on TV every day? What rituals do you partake in? Sports, WWF, beating the shit out of each other, cars, Nikes, the things that you value, drinking culture. This is all with the purpose of taking away our power and putting our attention on what doesn't serve us. So coming back to the birth worker part of it, if you take away birth from a woman, it's the most powerful thing. We are the bearers of life. If there were no women with wombs, would we go on? No. No, women sustain life. So it is necessary for men who want to stay in power to take away the power, at least perceivedly so, from women. Kill them, maim them, murder them, rape them, disgrace them, hurt them, and make them ugly by this mass brainwashing of media, right? So us women, us natural women, or women in general, are like, oh, if I don't look like the porn star, I am not desirable. That is a very, very systematic indoctrination for us and our young women children. How many 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds do you see like, that's not an accident. They put that in Disney. If you ever watch Disney movies, if you watch the Disney Channel, if you watch Nickelodeon, the sexual connotations are so many. It's ridiculous. The ways I have, even me, right? Even everybody, we are all under the influence of these powers that create the belief systems that we then operate from. Porn is just another one of them. So the power that porn has is really, it's really interesting actually, because puritanistically, what did they do? They took away sex. Right? It's like sex is evil, sex is bad. You're either a whore or a virgin. So if you make sex taboo and you say you can't do it, then you have this dichotomous activity. It's either sacred or it's pedophilia, or it's really dark and ugly because you're not able to put it out there. Same thing with nudity. Okay, we used to all be able to be nude with each other. There are tribes all over the world that are still not touched by the media in the way industrialized nations have been, and those people do not sexualize nudity. Okay, so with this whole like crone idea, if you take if you're responsible for developing or framing people's brains around the usurpation of power from crone women with this spiritual access, you are going to depict them unfavorably in television, witches, and they're ugly and wrinkles. Oh, do you want to get away your fine wrinkles? And you are going to create a desire of an adolescent-like woman, because those ones are they're going to have the power. So the youthful women have the power because, quite honestly, when we're young, we're stupid. So if you're worshiping a child or wanting to have sex with a young, wrinkleless, no hair having something, that is in direct opposition to the power that a fully grown, mature, crone woman, or woman of my age, I'm 35, if you take away the desire of us and our power, you're going to be able to rule a lot easier. Same thing with birth practices. This goes hand in hand with taking away the power of birth. The fact that women were made to give birth, to open up. I hear so many women come to me, they're like, well, they said my baby was too big. No, like your baby's not too big. Your body will birth that baby. Maybe you'll tear, but you know what? They used to put stitches on people way back in the day before there was the Western medical industrial complex. There are a lot of ways that there has been a systematic undertaking of diminishing the power of women, and porn culture is one of them. Now, this is unfortunate because it's a belief system, it's indoctrination. So because there's been this puritanistic, like very intentional taking away of sex outside of this like taboo, really like funky or raunchy, sexy thing, we're none of us really desire, like we don't really know what a healthy, soft, loving, pure, and I don't mean pure like Catholic pure. I mean pure like your soul just is blissful and desirous and helpful to want this connection with people. We are human beings, and biologically we want to have sex because that is what creates life, and that is how our species carries on. There's nothing sinful about it. What is sinful, if you want to say sin, and I believe whatever a sin is just going against the highest truth of what is your highest good. What is sinful is this tearing away of sexuality from humanity that then creates this deep, dark sub underculture, or this like puritanistic, idealistic view that nobody can actually live up to. So we have to like, and here it comes back to everything that I say pretty much, is begin to heal ourselves and our own internalized cis hetero white supremacist patriarchy within us, saying that no, you're not good enough, no, you're not young enough, no, you're not magic enough. Actually, only adolescent little boys and girls are sexually desirable based on this based on what we're feeding you to believe is power, so we can keep all the power up here. If you are diminished out there, there's no one who's going to challenge our freaking 1%-ness. Should I be scared to say all this? On the interwebs, come at me. Okay, no, don't come at me. No, come at me. No, don't come at me. Are you confused yet? I'm confused. Fucking America, man. Yeah, so basically, if we're gonna take it like back here, one of the things my mujeres, my beautiful sister friends, it's been a long fucking journey. The patriarchy killed a lot of us, and the ones who were not killed actually in our blood and flesh, our spirits have been crushed. We are made to believe that we are not lovable, we are not good enough. Our mothers and their mothers and their mothers had to marry for survival, had to stay in really shitty relationships for survival. And now that's just not true anymore. But we're still conditioned, and in our DNA, we're still conditioned to want this survival, and to want to be partnered, because biologically we want to have children. It's just biological. It doesn't have to be anything intellectual, because it's not. But we have to heal ourselves before we can keep fucking around with dudes who aren't healed. If we don't give ourselves time and chance to heal and love on ourselves and learn and understand the kind of underlying belief systems that are creating our decisions, then we're just going to keep making blind decisions and keep getting relationships with people who are actually not that good for us. And then just on a really straight up level, like if you don't like something, then it's part of, like, stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Like, you know, maybe if, you know, you try to get into the porn culture, maybe it's something that's interesting to you. Maybe you're into it, you know, maybe that's your kink. I've learned from a friend who's a dominatrix, like those can be really healing spaces, because maybe you have a kink for shoes, or I don't know, people have their different kinks for different things, right? But if that's your thing and it's helping you to explore your own darkness and your own shadow space and your own self and heal you, that's one thing. But if it's something that is diminishing your spirit, you have to make a choice of whether you want to be there or not. And if you keep choosing to be there, then that's a choice. We know what makes us good and what doesn't. We know what feels good and what doesn't. We know what resonates with our gut and what doesn't. And the thing is we've been taught not to trust ourselves because of this culture of diminishing our intuition and calling it woo and calling it voodoo, which is also a tool of the patriarchy to diminish the power of women, diminish the power of birthing people, to take away our power so that they keep the power. There's been some crazy stuff going on in the science community of them extracting women's wombs and putting them in men. And I know that this can be something that is like a big dream for certain people who would like to be birthing people and aren't born with that biological ability naturally. That's one thing, but it's a whole other thing when you give this cis hetero white supremacist patriarchy the power to birth babies on their own without women. That's scary. And I don't think that that's, I don't know, that I'm not even going to go into that because it gets really political, especially with the timbre of everything nowadays. It's all political, and our power is our own. So when I had a relationship with a porn addicted man, he was a very pobrecito. He came from a drug embedded home, came from abuse embedded home, a person of color, and that is really the legacy of slavery and colonization in the United States of America on purpose. There are these people, the freaking government has put alcohol and drugs in communities of color on purpose throughout the course of history so that we're constantly fighting against each other and hurting ourselves and ODing and killing each other with guns, again, so that the 1% can stay in the 1%. So this human was very porn addicted and told me all the right things so that we would like be in a relationship. And then once I was in a relationship with him, was like, will you shave? Will you do this? Will you do? I was like, I went for it for a little while, and then I prayed so hard until he left. And I made him leave. I didn't pray until he left. Like one night I was so unhappy, and I sat and I prayed so hard, and the next morning he talked to me in a way that was not okay, and I screamed at him and I yelled at him and I said, get out, and he never came back. That was my experience. But we have to choose what feels good for us and what we want. We can't just sit around and hope that we change or you know, I also see a lot of women going, I'm the one that's wrong. And that is part of men and power dynamics of being gaslit. Like, oh, well, if you really loved me, then this would be okay with you. When they're diminishing your emotional experience around something, that is a red light, and that's a sign to get out of it. But really, we as women need to stop allowing our ancestral memory of having to stay for survival to keep us in situations that are not serving us. Because the truth is, if we break up with them, we can move on. If like we're no longer beholden to they're the only ones who can work, they're the only ones who can make money, they're the only ones with land, they're the only ones with etc. and so on and so forth. We can do good on our own. So we have the evolutionary advantage to choose. We're the ones who make the babies. Okay? We're the ones with the portal to life. If they want the privilege of being with us, then they have to follow suit. And if they're not, then they better learn. They can walk. You can walk away from them, and maybe your walking away will be the catalyst for their learning. Yeah, porn culture is a lot more complicated than that because it really is like everybody has addiction tendencies, some people more than others, and there's something to feel the addiction. I have addictive tendencies. I used to smoke a lot of spliffs, and it was hurting my body, and I'm a healthcare practitioner, and I'm like, I can't be doing this anymore. You know what? I miss smoking. I loved smoking. You know why I don't smoke anymore? Because I love it so much, so I don't do it. You know what I do? I eat a lot of seaweed now. I like seaweed. I've been watching Game of Thrones recently. It's kind of impulsive. A little obsessive, but it's not hurting my soul. Okay, maybe Game of Thrones is kind of hurting my soul. I'm not gonna say that it's not hurting my soul. That's actually kind of fucked up. It's all. No. But either way, my point is choose your battles. Choose what feels good. Choose what doesn't feel good. Like, are there pros and cons? Can you live with the fact that he likes porn? Like, does it hurt your relationship? Does it hurt your relationship because you're obsessing about it? Maybe you need to look at your source of obsessing about it, which is also this cis heteronormative patriarchy thing. If you don't find your own self lovable, how do we do that? We need to do that by going into our child self and giving them what they need, because somewhere in your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you were not held in your worthiness, held in your love space. These things go way, way, way back. And clearly the wounding is centuries, ancestral, back with this sexuality stuff, with this puritanistic understanding of sexuality, which is not serving any of us anymore. Yeah, so, jot down your thoughts, jot down your ideas, come at me if you want to about all the things. Say yeah if you agree. And if you don't agree, that's okay. This is a free country. We can talk about things, hopefully, ideally. I don't know, people be getting murdered. I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope you find your healing, and I hope you choose to leave situations that aren't serving your gut. Yes. Peace.